Questions and then I'm going to.
Governor Ritter, John Besser for higher education, Northern Colorado and Greeley. I saw in the paper the other day that with the stimulus package now signed into law, that Colorado ranks 47th in the chain, whatever you want to call it, as far as receiving funds. Why is that, and how's that going to affect higher education?
So it's 47th according to our GDP, as a percentage of our GDP, and part of that is because our GDP is pretty high as a state. As a state, they use a lot of different formulas to decide. Some of them are population-based, some of them are employment-based. If you looked at the unemployment numbers, and we still don't know, the FMAP money is going to come according to the growth rate in unemployment. There's actually a formula. It looks like one of these things you do when you're figuring your taxes, and they say go to another appendix, and then you have to multiply it by 0.46, and then if the number's over 400, you enter this, but if it's under 400, you enter this, then you multiply that times 2, and then you go back to your, that's how it looks, right, and figuring out the FMAP money you get. And because our rate of unemployment has lagged the country's rate, and because our growth has been slower than our growth in unemployment, we're not a tier 1 state for unemployment. Now, we may be a tier 2 state. We're probably not a tier 3 state. We'd like to be a tier 2, but that means we're not going to get as much FMAP money, the Medicaid assistance percentage. So that's just one example of the formula, and actually wasn't even, I think, calculated when they looked at that. But it's a function of all these things that are part of how they calculate. What they don't calculate, that's just the formula money. They don't calculate the money that we may get if we compete for this education funding, this incentive funding. They don't calculate the money that we're going to, I believe, the benefits that we'll get from this increasing investment in research laboratories, because Colorado is going to benefit significantly from that. And so it's not something that I'm anxious about, because those formulas were all like set in place with a lot of discussion and dialogue. We actually did, at the end of the day, do a lot better after the Senate version than the House version, because of their backing off of the strict tiering that they were going to do, where we would have had some difficulty because our unemployment rate was pretty low. So that's the answer to the question. Don't panic just yet, and not that you're panicking, but I mean, I would not look at those figures and say that's the final number and that's all that we as a state are going to get. The good news about higher education is that that's the place in our budget that's so vulnerable when you go through a downturn. There's so much about K through 12 education. It's over 40% of the budget, but it's protected in a sense by Amendment 23. Not all of it. We did some cuts as it related to K through 12, but we were doing over $100 million in cuts to higher ed over a 2-year period. It didn't completely wipe out, but it did eliminate much of the gains that we'd made in a 2-year period to higher ed. And with this package, the stimulus package, we are assisted in a very big way with respect to higher ed. I don't know that we'll be able to keep all the money that's in higher ed presently, but we won't. I don't think we'll see those kinds of significant cuts that really were on the table and were necessary without the stimulus package having arrived. One more question. Is this gentleman here, did you have a question?
It was answered.
Okay, then I'll take your question.
Thank you. I'm Joan, and I'm from Fort Collins. I don't want to give my last name because it's the prestige. Anyway,
Because what?
Joan Cusack.
No, you don't have to.
Anyway, the original. Anyway, my concern is not personally with my salary. My concern is with the lowest salary paid state employees. They have lost 36% of their buying power in the last 5 years. They can't afford health care. They don't even have enough people to do the jobs that they've got now within the state system. And I understand the budget cuts with the salary freezes or anything, but the state has an obligation to pay each and every one of its employees a decent living wage. And I don't believe the lower employees are getting that. Is there anything that is being addressed to that issue?
Not in this downturn. What we're trying to do is save, what we can in the state budget, and I think that's very much the purpose of these partnerships, is to address just, the way you articulated, address those kinds of issues. But I cannot tell you, what we have said is anything that costs new money, that's even a legislative item, is going to be very, very difficult to get through. Because this, as Mitch said in the introduction, this is the worst downturn that we've experienced as a country, likely since the Great Depression. And in that, it's not likely that I'm going to be able to address those kinds of issues, that we're just going to do all we can to figure out how we usher ourselves through this and how we come out of it on the other end. And when we come out of it on the other end, how we address those kinds of issues then.
Just myself personally, and this is my personal opinion, I would be willing to take a pay cut in order to bring the other people up to a decent living salary, because I believe they have the right to a decent salary, especially the new employees coming into the state system at this time.
Well, thank you.
My name is Ellen Oliver. I'm a driver's license examiner. I've worked for you a little over a year and a half. I'm in the Golden office, and I'm one of the people that she's referring to. I just filed my taxes, and I applied for FAFSA for my daughter. And the woman that sat down with me, because I went to the college in Colorado, the college in Colorado initiative to get the FAFSA done. And the woman that sat with me was a financial aid advisor from Naropa. And she said, "You work for the state of Colorado, how do you do it?"
Yeah.
Because I made $28,000 last year, and I'm a single mom. And I told her, I said, "No, when I look at the number, I don't know." And I've had one step increase since I was hired, and that's only because they needed examiners too in the Golden office. So I'm one of the people that go, I'm the face of the state of Colorado. At least that's what I've been told. Because when people come in and they get a driver's license, I'm the state employee that they see. And so many of us were overwhelmed. We're not issuing just driver's license, folks. Those are identification documents. And the information that we have to feed through our brains to make sure that this person in front of me is a legitimate person, the pressure we're under. If we make a mistake, we could get put on administrative leave, or it comes out of our pay, or we're putting on, I don't even know what it's called now, administrative action for 6 months, which is what I'm on now. But she's one of the people that we're talking about. I'm one of the people that she's talking about. I appreciate that. I didn't realize that everybody does.
I really do have to go, and I apologize for that, but I thank you for the opportunity to just speak to you, and more than that, to hear your questions and your concerns. That's a powerful statement you made, so thank you very much.
Thank you.